Hey Blue Rockers, welcome to Blue Rock Talk. I'm Connie Willis. Earth's most interesting conversations. People, places, and things as well. And this is one of the interesting days that a lot of you guys were requesting, and we're going to try that right now. Remember, not too long ago on Coast to Coast AM, I interviewed Lori Williams, and we launched my Blue Rock Talk Bafflers on Coast to Coast. It was great to be able to do that. What I did was gave her 3 different targets to look at. Lori is a remote viewing instructor as well as a professional remote viewer. So her accuracy rate when it comes to remote viewing, the real deal we're talking, not just some psychic person saying they remote view. This is a remote viewer that uses the controlled remote viewing method, which means it's the military method that Lynn Buchanan actually taught her, and then she kind of, that's what she follows. It's the military one. And she's got some unique things herself. As I said, she's also a teacher. But she's using the method where you actually put it down on paper. That's the controlled remote viewing. And she did that for me on our Blue Rock Talk Baffler launch on Coast. And we did 3 different subjects. One was Bigfoot. One was the pineal gland, and the other was what lies underneath Mount Shasta. So we had incredible feedback. And by the way, her normal feedback, looking at her database, is 87% correct. That's a big deal. And what that means is when she's 87% correct, not only is that really cool, but that's when you can give her something like, an esoteric target like we did, and you can pretty much see that it's probably going to be 87% accurate as well. Because remember, when people remote view and there is a target for them to view, they don't know what that target is, whether it's real or esoteric. Well, most of us know that Bigfoot's not esoteric anyway. Some of us do. Those of you that don't, those of you on the fence, you're going to like this. Because here is her session. I'm going to go over her session so that you can see it again in writing, because there's no way to attach paperwork on YouTube. So I'm just going to go over her session. Now, she didn't want her actual session to be aired because it's kind of a personal thing with remote viewers. I wish she would, because it looks really cool. I mean, it's really that much more interesting and intriguing to do. But this is just a common thing with remote viewers and professional remote viewers. It's kind of between them and their subconscious. It's just kind of a personal, intimate piece of paper or pieces of paper that it's just a private thing. It's not she's trying to hide anything. It's nothing like that. But people scribble and they put all sorts of weird little notes down. And the last thing they want is somebody to see all their little personal scribbles and things like that, and how bad they write or how good they write or how bad they draw. They just want you to get the summary. So that's cool. I am happy that Lori does this. And so however she needs to do that, that's fine. Maybe one day she might do that, because it will intrigue you when you see it. It's just the method. And if you take her classes or someone else's classes and you are taught the controlled remote viewing method, you will understand that. And you'll understand too, I don't want anybody to see my work. I scribble, right? So it's just kind of like that. That's all it's about. So she put it down in a professional way, not as exciting to look at, because it just looks like paperwork. However, there are some images in it. But it gets the message across, and it allows you to see her feedback written down so that you know her summary, okay? So that's what we're going to go over now. take a look here. She sent me in a nice professional way. Intuitive Specialist Controlled Remote Viewing. This is her paperwork that she sent me. That's the session number and name right there. And it's by Lori Williams in May of 2017. Now, I'll read this to you and we'll just go down it. Okay, and that's it. This will be part 1 because this is the one that was on Coast to Coast. I'm also going to do the take 2 that we did that was on Blue Rock Talk when it came to Bigfoot. So let's move on here. So prior to viewing this target, I was given the information. The target is biological. Describe the target. That's all the information she had. And the actual picture was the Sasquatch picture, the very famous one that Bob Gimlin and Patterson got together. And it's the very famous frame that Patty is looking dead at Mr. Gimlin. So that's kind of cool. So that's what was hidden in an envelope that she didn't see. And her, what she was told to do is the target is biological, describe the target. And that's how it works with remote viewing. That's what you do. That's how you set it up. It's very blind to where she knows nothing. So let's go into the mind of Lori Williams and see what happened. Beginning the session about halfway down on page 1, I had a sudden knowing sense that the target must be Bigfoot or Sasquatch. We call an assumption of this sort analytic overlay or AOL because it comes from the conscious mind. Regardless of whether the assumption is correct or incorrect, it's still an assumption. And even more importantly, it is a noun. Nouns tend to identify rather than describe. So my job as a remote viewer at this point was to simply set the assumption aside and continue with the session. So she put to the side Bigfoot and move on. I think she also told me that she went, oh, of course it's Bigfoot. Connie gave me this target. So these are the physical descriptors she started getting. These are the words that started popping up into her mind. Humanoid, brown, furry, hairy, big, tall, really tall, thin, biped, erect, stinky, emollient. I don't even know that word. Just put down in the description below emollient for me. Gamey smelling, dirty, greasy, thick-haired, ugly, big teeth, stinky breath, long arms and legs, protruding mouth and lower jaw. Well, doesn't that sound familiar? And take a look at the picture that she drew at the time, too. Look at that. That's amazing. The cone head, eyes, it's definitely a head. Amazing. I mean, folks, when a picture is in an envelope somewhere else, closed, and you are giving biological, describe the biological, and you immediately get Bigfoot, and you immediately draw that, and you immediately get these descriptors, that's pretty darn good. You can see where the 87% comes from. And if I know her, she's being conservative there. She's very good viewer. Habitat and location. These are those nouns. Green, brushy, thick, human. So this is her surroundings. This is how she's picking up the surroundings, okay? So around her, once again, green, brushy, thick, humid, swamp-like, crunchy sounds, snapping sounds. Isn't that interesting? Crunching sounds like possibly walking in the woods, snapping sounds, possibly snapping twigs, branches, and limbs as they're walking. Very dark, inky darkness. That might be a Loriism. Maybe, again, put in the description below what you think. Cooler, damp again, high-pitched sounds, squeaking, flapping sounds, and grunting sounds. Very interesting because that's kind of describing what any Bigfooter, any type of researcher is going out there and finding too. You know, it seems as though she is describing outdoors, foresty, cavey areas, and definitely dark. Could be at night, could be the cave. At this point, the words portal and interdimensional came to me. I had the sense of the blackness all around me, The sounds of what I interpreted to be bats also seemed to be surrounding me. I wanted to stop the session, but I continued. My monitor said, "Move to the thinking processes of the biological and describe." So now this is how she described that. Foreign, very different, abstract, I cannot relate, intelligent, cunning, hunter-gatherer, feels a need to hide, and alone. Very interesting as a thinking process of a Bigfoot. Now let's keep in mind the target is Bigfoot. So the thinking processes that she's getting from them in perspective to her. Foreign, very different, abstract, I cannot relate, intelligent, cunning, hunter-gatherer, feels a need to hide, alone. I got to tell you, the very first time I experienced being around where these beings, sometimes I used to say creatures and people get mad about that, but being around these beings, that was one of the first things I ever got. They are highly intelligent and they're everywhere. And that just came to me. That just came to me. And so for her to say intelligent and other people that have been around them, and that is a given, intelligence. It's just amazing. I mean, she never had any clue about Bigfoot before. She never thought about Sasquatch. She never thought about researching. She never thought about doing a target like this. She just never thought about Bigfoot one way or the other. Feels the need to hide from people like us, hunter-gatherers out there getting food. She can't relate. Very different, foreign, abstract. Makes sense. Moving to the original origin on Earth of the biological. Now, the monitor at this point, which by the way is her husband and who is very, 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 very good at monitoring her, he was giving her questions that I had already given him to ask if, if she, as she was doing this, there were questions I wanted to know. And one was about, you'll hear them as they go, as it goes along. Moving to the original origin on Earth. Blue, green, hot, beautiful. Cool, damp, humid, misty. It feels like a place that no longer exists. This is the original origin of on Earth. Feels like a place that no longer exists. Long, long ago. Originated on this planet between 20,000 and 25 years ago. Now that's what she's getting for the original origin on Earth. And what I'm gathering, what I'm thinking this is between 20 and 25,000 years ago, possibly is when they originated on this planet. Now, we're going to read the rest of her session here. You should never assume. So I need to stop right now. Psst, 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 psst. Lori would be smacking me. Okay, so what she puts there is they came back and forth through a time portal. The time portal exists in great darkness within a cave-like structure. And that's what she drew right there. That is her cave-like structure. Pretty interesting. Description of time portal. Dark, vibrating, deep underground. The darkness is almost tangible. It is so thick. They move so quietly back and forth. They are quiet. We all know that they are extremely quiet. And she's picking up on this too. A thick darkness. Deep underground, vibrating and dark. And we know that a lot of people, even that do out-of-body experiences, if they're going into another realm, just like a portal takes you to another realm, astral projectors, out-of-body experiencers, always talk about a vibration. conversation with the Sasquatch-like conscience. Okay, so that's how she labels this. And it's going to be very interesting. At this point in the session, I began conversing with what I consider to be the collective consciousness of that which we refer to as Sasquatch. So here's Lori asking these questions, and the Sasquatch being answers her. Why are you here? Why are you here? Do you have a reason to be on Earth? We are surviving. We are beings like you. We simply want to thrive. We want to love our offspring and our mates and enjoy our homes in peace. Wow. That's pretty interesting. I love their intelligence because even when I went out before and I got interaction with them through MindSpeak, there was attitude. There was feelings. It was when at one point I was given a chance to look at one, and I said, right before they did, they said to me, well, isn't this what you came for? To see one of us. I mean, it knew it, and it had, that's attitude. Well, isn't this what you came for? That's really something. It's complex mind passing it on through a MindSpeak, and to hear Lori say, why are you here? And it's like, well, why are you here? Do you have a reason to be on Earth? That's really interesting. It's like we want to thrive like you guys. At this point, Laura, this is Lori talking again, or thinking. At this point, I was asked to move to the beginning of the bio's time on Earth and describe. The bio is the target, which is Sasquatch. So, green, hot, steamy, densely forested millions of years ago, when they first got here, millions of years ago. Lori asked, how did you come to be here? Sasquatch answers, we were brought here. We share a different density. We are able to come and go through time-space portals. It is often not intentional and feels uncontrolled. This is the conversation between Lori and the group consciousness of that which we call Sasquatch continues. Sasquatch. We slip into other time frames, yet remain in the same space, which makes it look as though we disappear. But we find ourselves in a distant time. This allows us to survive in hostile environments because we seem to slip away frequently. We also find abundant food for our plant diet. Very interesting to say plant diet. There are some people that have said that, and there are some people that say they're meat eaters. Note, they slip back and forth into different time slots, and since they live in forested areas and usually slip into time backwards into the past, they escape predators and find lush vegetation in which to hide and eat. Lori, how do you feel about humans? Sasquatch, humans are our natural enemy. We feel that humans are predators and savage. We are peace-loving and originated genetically and physically in a very peacefully in a very peaceful world, a peaceful dimension. Humans are very violent and have a very strong odor, which we find to be very unpleasant. They are very predatory and like to hunt us. Now, it's very true that our people, humans, like to hunt them. Some want to kill them. Some say the word hunt just to go see one and be around one. So hunt isn't always the best word, but hunt doesn't always have to be kill, does it? Because you hunt for Easter eggs. So it's kind of the search. It is very funny that in this remote viewing session that they said humans have a very strong odor. I can imagine if they're used to their smells and then they smell us because we're totally different, totally the opposite, I guess we would stink, because vice versa, right? Now, this is what she got from this particular Sasquatch that she was talking to. I have a feeling that every one of them think in their own way. They're extremely intelligent. I can imagine that there's, a common thought across the board, but as we all have our own personalities, I think a lot of us agree that that these things have their own personalities too. And I think this one in particular is not happy with humans, where I think that other people have had some relationships with them and they found something to be different, that they have kind of befriended them. So I'm just stating that just myself. This is what she found out talking to this one. Regarding the ability to move through time, just as skunks have an odor defense and other animals have natural cloaking or camouflage, our ability to slip backwards and forwards through time is our natural defense. Extremely interesting. What a great defense. Very peaceful for sure. How do you move through time is what Lori asked, and here's the answer. Like other animals, our mechanism is triggered naturally to defend us. We do not understand the mechanism. Just as a rattlesnake does not understand the mechanism of how venom comes through his fangs, we do not know how we move through time. The mechanism is triggered by fear. Love is the key to draw us together so we do not become separated from our loved ones in the vast expanse of time. Love is a powerful force, much like gravity. The laws of gravity determine that which goes up must eventually come down, on Earth at least. The laws of love simply act as magnets or ties through time to bring us back forward, or to bring us back with our loved ones. We share a harmonic frequency that matches and allows to always find our familial beings. Now, this is wonderful, folks. I absolutely love this. First of all, their mechanism of going through just kind of disappearing as their defense mechanism, and then they're safe. How cool is that? I would love that. Wouldn't we all love that? You're in a dark alley and a gang comes up against you, and you're back against a wall. Wouldn't that be nice to have this defense mechanism? And then we turn it all into love, and that's where they're saying this is it. Love is the only thing, which is something that we've all been taught along the way. Not everybody listens to that, or maybe you haven't been taught that, or maybe you don't think that at all. Maybe you believe that. I totally believe love is the only thing that is real. And to hear this was really profound for me. I mean, it really touched me to hear this. A lot of you researchers out there, you all agree that they are all about love and peace. And so that's pretty interesting to hear this one talk like that. And I'm just amazed at all the things she touched on, she knew nothing about, that some of you have taken years and years to find out yourself on your own. Interesting. Now, at this point, this is what she says, going back to Lori's thoughts here. At this point, I noted that I feel as though I am getting these answers from the group consciousness or subconscious minds of the Sasquatch put into a language that I am able to understand. My monitor asked, could there be a biblical tie to Sasquatch? There was total silence in my mind, as though the group consciousness is totally unaware of what the Bible is. That was one of the questions I put into this when I gave them the target Bigfoot. I said, can you find out if there's a biblical tie? Because a lot of you like to tie Bigfoot up in the biblical way. So I asked that. Now, it's up to you to believe any of this or not. It's up to you. She has an 87% accuracy, and just saying, here's the answer she got. And again, the reaction was, there was a total silence in my mind, as though the group consciousness is totally unaware of what the Bible is. Continuing, Lori asked mentally, what kind of lifespan do you have? Sasquatch, 150 years. At this point, the monitor asks if there's any relation between orbs and the biological. Now, this was a question that I wanted to know because a lot of people are also asking, or they see orbs when the Bigfoot's around, and then they see a Bigfoot. So it was a logical question. Lori comes back with orbs are a separate being, totally separate from Sasquatch, from a whole nother dimension than Sasquatch, and that it is much different. And you can read that right there. Now, as we prepared to end the session, the monitor asked, anything else? A message to humanity? Because I wanted to be able to ask, hey, is there anything else that we're missing here? And here's what the Sasquatch answered to Lori. We have existed on Earth for millions of years and will continue here long after humanity ceases to exist on this planet. We are able to escape any disasters, unlike humans, who are limited to one time space package per lifetime. Therefore, humans should use their time package wisely and love rather than war. Enjoy your families and live in love. And then she ended the session. That is unbelievably profound for Lori to just pull out of her hat for those of you that might be disbelievers. If you're a disbeliever, you really need to look into learning remote viewing and go take one of the courses yourself with Lori or anyone else that teaches it. Well, not everyone. There would be a, definitive group of people I would give you to go to. But could you imagine pulling that out of your hat? Let's do this again. This is the message to humanity from Sasquatch. We have existed on Earth for millions of years and will continue here long after humanity ceases to exist on this planet. We are able to escape any disaster. Absolutely. Unlike humans, absolutely. Who are limited, this is interesting, humans limited to one time space package per lifetime. Okay, per lifetime, as if there's more than one. Limited to one time space package per lifetime. Time space package. Therefore, humans should use their time package wisely. Their time package wisely. And love rather than war. Enjoy your families and live in love. That's amazing. I want to say something right now, but if Lori's listening, I don't want her to hear this. So Lori, turn away for a minute. Go into the other room. Go into the other room. Okay? I'm going to count to 5 and be gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hurry up. What we'll do in the future is ask Lori about to describe a time package. Okay? That'll be a future Blue Rock Talk Baffler. Describe time package. Okay? Now, Lori, you can come back in. We'll give her a second to come back in. I know she'll watch this video. So here's the caveats and the analysis. Controlled remote viewing. This was written by Lori after the session and putting all the information together. Okay? Controlled remote viewing is not a perfect science, and it should be noted that any time a remote viewer is remote viewing a target, which is esoteric in nature, that is, having no solid, provable feedback with which to compare session perceptions with provable reality, the results of such a session must be taken with a grain of salt. The results of such a session can only be weighed based on a tried and proven track record of the remote viewer. My track record in the professional remote viewing database is 87%. That's gigantic, folks. Another thing to consider when looking at remote viewing in general is that it is possible to remote view a collective idea. For example, let's say that a remote viewer is given the target of Santa Claus. Santa Claus is a very well-known character in the minds of billions all over the earth. Therefore, his bright red suit, his shiny black belt, and his sleigh led by reindeer are also well-known and established thought forms and can be easily picked up on by any good remote viewer. That's very interesting. So did Lori pick up that information from thoughts of Bigfooters and what they've already got in their minds as a collective thought? I gotta say that if you think of just thinking about this, Santa Claus is known in a very big way. Bigfoot's got a much smaller believer scale, and it's very split up, and people argue constantly about what's true and what's not. So I get what she's saying, but it may not even apply to this because of that. But maybe it does. Lori goes on to say, prior to this session on Bigfoot, I have never been at all interested in the subject of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. I have never read books about the subject, nor have I watched any documentaries, YouTube videos, etc. It just has not ever been an area that drew my attention. Nevertheless, I could be picking up on what other people think, believe, and create regarding Bigfoot. My remote viewing session cannot be considered proof of anything for that reason. While doing this session, I did feel that I was connected somehow, and the information about time portals and moving back and forth through time as a defense mechanism caught me totally by surprise. Fascinating. And then she goes on to say that I hope you enjoyed reading this report. And that's the end of that. Thank you for joining me, and we will talk to you again soon. Yo, Blue Rockers. I'm Connie Willis.